All right, guys, well, we are cutting grain. We're rolling now. We just got out to the field. We did a few rounds out here the other day, just calibrating everything with our new Fendt Ideal 9 combine with a 40-foot header on it. This thing is a beast. But we have this field to do. We did probably 4 rounds yesterday, just calibrating. So we're gonna get rolling today and see how much we can get done. The moisture is just right. So we're gonna get rolling and start grain harvest for the year. We have 1,600 acres of grain to harvest, and that's why we bought this combine. Because our old combine, it took a month to do 700 acres last year. So we more than doubled our grain acreage, and yeah, we needed a combine that could actually cut it in time. So we bought this big Fendt Ideal 9 combine, and so far it has been very impressive. We've looked around on the ground behind it, and in a square foot we could only find maybe 1 or 2 kernels. So it's not losing hardly anything, which our old combine lost a ton. And yeah, it's doing a pretty awesome job. It sure makes it easy with that big long boom on there. But we're gonna get going here. I gotta hop in the grain cart and start loading these semis. And then we're gonna get rolling and just keep on going. Hopefully it only takes us about 2 or 3 weeks to get all the grain harvested. All right, well, he's going along. Man, it's crazy to see him going so fast. He's going like 5 miles an hour. The lights are starting to blink because he's almost full. You can see the grain heaping up on the top. So I'm gonna zip over there and unload him, but man, compared to our old combine, he is cruising. All right, he's unloading now. We gotta get unloaded before we get to the end of the field. But this thing is supposed to be able to unload the entire bin, which is almost 500 bushel. I think it's 485 bushel is how full it is when it's all the way full. And it's supposed to unload the whole bin in 90 seconds. So, should definitely be able to get done before we get to the end of the field. But it is coming up. Let's see if we make it. Should be able to. It's nice he can also move the boom back and forth. Our old one really couldn't do that, but he can move the boom back and forth, so I can't really see in my bin as you can see, but he can, so he can move back and forth as needed to fill me up all the way. All right, he's running out now. He just moved his boom back to fill the back, which is pretty handy. It leaves such big windrows that I'm dragging the tractor on the windrows. All right, he's full. See these windrows down here? Dragging on my step. I'm gonna go over here and get out of the way. I'm actually full, so I gotta drive to the other end of the field over there where the trucks are and unload into the trucks. All right, I am now over here at the truck, so I need to turn my PTO on and open up my grain door. There we go. We're filling her up. I have enough in here that I should definitely be able to fill this truck up and probably put a little bit in the next truck as well. Looks like I'm a little far to that side. It's always hard to try and line up just perfect with the trucks, but I can overload them pretty easy, so I just need to make sure not to let the grain get too high or it'll overload them. Okay, that truck's full. He's tarping his truck now, and I dumped a little bit into those other trucks over there just to make sure my bin was full. Because if my bin is full, then I can hold 2 completely full dumps from the combine. because that has a 485 bushel bin, which they say you can get 500 in it. And this is a 1,075 bushel cart. So I should easily be able to hold 2 dumps and then go dump into the semi, as long as I get it all the way empty. So I'm gonna go drive over there and unload him again. Of course, his lights aren't flashing, but I don't know if he could make it all the way back to this end. Well, for those of you who don't know, this Fendt Ideal 9 combine is the first one that they have sold west of the Rocky Mountains. So we got the first one, at least on this side of the country. So far, man, it's doing a great job. It's able to go, I think he's got it up to about 5 miles an hour where the straw isn't very tall. But with that 40-foot head, he fills up really quick. And as far as grain loss, I know there was a lot of people last year when we went and looked at this that were like, oh, they lose a lot of grain. We searched and searched behind this thing when we were calibrating it yesterday, and we could only find, they say in 1 square foot, if you find 19 kernels in 1 square foot, that's 1 bushel lost per acre. Well, in 1 square foot, we were only able to find 1 or 2. So it's really not losing any. Like, so little that we really had to search just to even find a couple. It's just doing a stellar job. So far, couldn't be happier. And it's cruising compared to our old New Holland. That New Holland could only go maybe 2.5 miles an hour if you're lucky. And it only had a 30-foot head on it. This one's going about 4 to 5 miles an hour with a 40-foot head. So it's doing an awesome job, that's for sure. It's just awesome to watch it go. See, I'm gonna pace him. Going the same speed. Right now, because the straw is just a little bit taller, he is going about 3.5 miles an hour. But that's 1.5 miles faster than our old combine would go, as fast as it would go. So, yeah. And it has a draper header on it. So it has belts. It cuts it onto belts. And then the grain gets pushed to the middle where it's just fed right into the feeder house. All right, well, we've finished the field on this side, which is the majority of this field. So I came and parked the tractor here so I could get this pivot moved out of the way. It is moving. It's on 100%, but it's still very slow. So it'll slowly make its way over here and we'll start working on this side. These are short rows, so they'll go pretty fast. And there's a little patch on the other side of the ditch over there where that pivot is right there, just a little 2-tower. And we should definitely be able to finish this field probably in a couple hours. That 40-foot header and going 4 to 5 miles an hour definitely makes this go pretty quick. So just have a little bit more of the long rows. But this is the first field of 1,600 acres. And I think this field is only 100 acres. So yeah, we're well on our way, but we still have quite a few weeks, at least 2.5 to 3 weeks probably is my guess, until we get all this grain done. Well, the pivot's moving really slow, but it is almost out of the other side. So, but he is getting to be heaping full, and I can't fill right here because he hasn't cut on the other side. So we'll see if he can make it around and turn around so I can empty before he spills that grain up on the cab, because that's where it's going to go if he gets too full. thought he was going to do the end, even though he was full. But I think he just realized that he won't be able to go very far. That pile of grain up on the top is pretty big. I don't know how much more room he's got. He's going to turn around and we'll dump him into the cart. Looks like he's still got a little bit of room. This is Chris. I'm up here in the cab of the Fendt combine. Just looking at this 40-foot header sucking this wheat in. Hard red spring wheat. It's going, if I look over here at the yield, right now it's about 115, 20, 30. It kind of varies. We're going 3.5 miles an hour, if you can see that. We can probably bump it up a little bit quicker. I have been going 4 most of the time. Anyway, we're just finally getting able to cut some wheat. And it's really cool seeing this 40-foot header, this big Fendt Ideal 9, you know, 650 horse machine. It just eats whatever you feed it. And the draper head just pulls it right in, sucks it in head first, and it does a really good job. There's Taryn over there. He's coming over in the grain cart. We'll dump into him in a second, but yeah, some of my screens over here. There's my performance. So this is my returns, sieves. You know, as long as they're not staying up in the yellow, there's not a whole lot of loss. Up here shows my concave clearances, the rotor speed, the fan speed, upper and lower sieves. This is my auto steer, where my header's at. I can have a bunch of different header heights. Push that button to tilt the header. Here's the GPS on that little screen. It's working really well. It's like a spaceship. You can do so much. There's cameras all over. You can show an aerial view. Right now, we'll look at this. Scroll that out, and it puts the side auger out. Now that Taryn's here, we'll show you the side auger will come out over the cart. And we have all of the louvers opened up. So now that it's there, push it so where it unloads. We weren't quite full, so we were probably a little around 300. Well, it actually told us how many bushel. We're probably close to that 400 bushel in there. It'll hold 485. I know they say if it's at the about to run over mark, it's probably closer to 500 bushel, but we're still trying to calibrate that. But here's the other view from Taryn's. Taryn had his view from the tractor, and here's our view from the grain combine. Just filling the cart. And it's all. I'm not touching a single thing right now. If you look here, it's driving itself. It's doing, you know, it's unloading by itself. As soon as it's done, we'll stop it and roll the auger back in. Well, it's about done now. If you keep it on, you're putting so much wheat into it that you could just constantly keep streaming it out the whole time. But we'll close that. We'll run the auger back in. I don't know if he'll dump it this time or next time, depending on how close one of the Supreme trucks, STI's trucks are, how full they are, but we'll go dump into them. And I'm sure we'll have more videos on how we make all these buttons and everything work. I tell the guys it's kind of like driving a spaceship, but here's the armrest.
There's buttons all over and everything moves, and you can do a lot of automatic stuff, that's for sure. Anyway, we'll keep after getting all this wheat done.
All right, we made it. He didn't spill any onto the cab. It was close though. Now I just have to watch to make sure I don't run it over the front of the grain cart. It's kind of hard to film and run the speed and the steering. Now I'm getting a little off. It's hard to do all that at once. We'll get it. See how long it takes to dump that whole bin into the cart. Since I've been filming the whole time, it should be pretty easy to find out. Now he was pretty full. He wasn't all the way full. It's probably 450 bushel. Looks like he's just about done. They say 90 seconds. And there's 90 seconds right there from when I started filming. So yeah, that thing unloads real fast. But I gotta go fill some semis. Now, as the grain cart driver, I'm in charge of hopefully keeping the combine from stopping. So there's this wheel line behind me that I'm gonna try and move. Hopefully it starts so that Christopher doesn't have to stop the combine and get out and move it. And I also moved that pivot that's over there. So that's my job. Christopher stopped. He's getting out to do something. Let's go see what's going on. Well, what happened?
Well, it said, so it started to get a little squirrely over there, you probably saw.
Uh-huh.
And then just barely the GPS went off. And it said, a code came up. It says primary wheel angle sensor signal exceeded calibration limit. And it said basically turn off the machine, check your wheel angle sensor, and then try to see if restarting it will fix it.
All right.
I don't know if there's just one on one side or both sides, but I think something was going out because that last pass, it wanted to just go all over the place. And now the GPS shut off, so.
Yeah, I noticed it was getting a little squirrely.
But you know how technology is these days, right?
Turn it off, turn it back on.
Well, not only that, but you know when the GPS shuts off, you can't work anymore.
Yep. It's not like there's a steering wheel in there or anything.
No.
So we just have to find the wheel angle sensors and
I don't see one on this side, so it's just gotta be the one on that side.
It's gotta be this guy right here. All right, well, we hope he got the wheel sensor fixed on this beast. We'll see if it will drive how it's supposed to. It's definitely a monster of a combine. It's working good though. Yeah, there was a few of these windrows that were all squirrely because the GPS is making it go all crazy. I might get covered in grain dust here in a minute. This thing has something like 650 horsepower. right, well, we finished the field. We are all done. So we're in the process of moving to the next field. So we have to take the header off. See, our old combine, the header was only a 30-foot header. So we rarely took it off. We usually just left it on. It did have wheels that folded down, so you could take it off. But we rarely took it off because all these country roads, they're a little over 30 feet wide. So we could just drive down. We had to tilt it up to miss mailboxes and stuff. But this header is a 40-foot header. Yeah, it doesn't fit down any of these roads. Like, we would hit mailboxes, stop signs, telephone poles, everything. So we have, this one doesn't have wheels that folds down, but we have our header trailer here. So we're gonna unhook it and put the header on the trailer and then go to the next field. So it's pretty easy to unhook. I'll go show you what you take off on the other side. So the only thing you have to unhook, and we already unhooked it, is there's the shaft, the drive shaft. There's the drive shaft, this one. It just hooks in right here. And then this is the electronics and all the hydraulics, and it just plugs in here. So you just pull that arm and it comes off. So it's pretty much ready to unhook. We just have to go sit it on the trailer. It's a big header. Had to make sure we were centered. Just like that, it's unhooked. Now we can hook the truck up here, take the combine over to the next field. Okay, well, there goes the header. And here goes the combine. We're headed over to the next one. Hopefully we can get it hooked up. This thing kind of takes up the whole road, so we'll see. All right, there you can see why we can't have the header on. The road is barely wide enough for the tires. So we would be taking out everything. But we're getting there. Now we just have to get the header hooked back up. We're just gonna block the whole road for a little bit. Because that's what we have to do. When you live in a farming community, this is what you have to expect. Okay, it's hooked up. At least it's on. We still have to hook up the drive line and the hydraulics and electronics, but get it hooked up. And then we'll start going into this field. This field has a whole bunch of wheel lines in it, so that'll be fun to move. Looks like he can go without putting his bin open. Now I gotta pull in. Okay, well, we're going. Hey, you can actually see the mountains. It's been so smoky you couldn't even see the mountains before, but yeah, you can see them right now. We had to stop for a second. He had to fold his grain tank out and the auger, but I've got to follow him for a while because he's going to go do the ends. And I have to get out of the way because all the semis have to pull in behind me, so we'll get doing the ends. And this field is such a weird shape. It like jogs in over here, then around this yard, and then down the other side, and then goes over here behind that yard. And actually that's the school, but it goes clear over there. Such a weird shaped field, and it has a whole bunch of wheel lines in it all over. Josh is going to kind of move these things out of the way, but yeah, this is going to be an interesting field to do just because there's so much stuff in the way. But we'll get it done because we have to. So one question that I've had asked in the past is, what do we use to kill the grain? Well, what happens when you stop watering a plant? It dies. So we basically just turn the water off. We don't use any chemical or anything to kill the grain. We just stop watering it. It has to sit. Usually we shut the water off and then it sits for about a month, and then it's ready. It dies and the kernels dry up and they're ready to harvest. So we don't have to do anything other than just shut the water off, and that's what gets the grain ready to go. This field is a little tight with these wheel lines and this pivot. It was a little tricky for him to get around the end of this pivot. He had to like twist the header and then lift it way up to clear over this wheel line here. But that header will lift, I think, 7 feet in the air. So it worked. It did it. It's just a little tricky. Well, here comes the combine. Wait until he goes by, then I have to move this wheel line out of the way. Standing over here so I don't get in the chaff. That stuff will make you so stinking itchy. It ain't even funny. Well, we'll go get the wheel line moved so he can come back down next to it. Well, I got it started. I just gotta wait for him to get out of the way. And I can move this thing. Just about there. Okay, there, just lifting it up. Should be out of the way. Get rolling this thing. This is probably the fullest bin that he's had all day. We're gonna see how long it takes for him to empty it. See if I can drive without spilling it all. Okay, should only take 90 seconds, we'll see. That's a pretty full bin. Holy smokes, that bin went down pretty fast. It's been a good day, good first day of harvest. We have, I'm not even sure how many acres we've done. We'll finish, this is the second field, and we will finish this field today. It's It's about 8:30. The mill closes at 8, so they won't take any more trucks after 8. So we can only work a little after 8. Sometimes if we have some trucks, we can work till 9. Like if we had more left of this field, we'd probably work a little later. Also, when the dew comes on, you usually have to stop because you can't. Once the grain starts to get the dew on it, the moisture starts to creep up, and you don't want wet grain. So usually we work until the dew starts to come on, and then we quit. But we will probably just finish this field because the next field is a few miles away. So we'll probably just finish this field. I don't know if we'll move over there tonight or not, but we're definitely going to finish this field. Probably in about 20 minutes. He only has a couple more rounds left and he'll be done. All right, well that was basically 90 seconds. He's trickling out the last little bit. Wow, that's a fast auger. Unloads almost pretty much probably about 500 bushel in 90 seconds. That's crazy. Loving the Fendt combine so far. Just got the header hooked up on the cart. Just gonna take it back to the yard. Christopher's in this. He's gonna drive this back to the yard because right now there's not a whole lot of traffic. It's about 9 o'clock. So he's gonna drive it back to the shop. It's about 3 or 4 or 5 miles or so. And yeah, we'll service it in the morning. Gotta get all the blinky lights on. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this first day of grain harvest. We did about 150-ish acres today, which is pretty good. All the fields we did today, there wasn't very many long rows. The first field we did had long rows, but after that they didn't. So all of our fields, these were rented. All of our fields have longer rows, so we should be able to get more done in a shorter amount of time. So keep watching for more grain harvest videos. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.